The diplomatic talks concluded. The military response was already airborne. The date is December 1st, 2025, 03:12 hours, local time. 2 Turkish Raider drones penetrate Russian airspace. They carry a 4,000-pound payload of bunker-busting munitions aimed at the sole railway lifeline to Crimea. In 180 seconds, the most critical supply route in this modern warfare theater will become a monument of twisted steel. This operation was set in motion exactly 48 hours prior. A critical error from Moscow, refusing port entry. 3 Turkish cruise ships were denied access to Sevastopol. The official reason: a fear of smuggled Ukrainian intelligence assets. Attack drones hidden in tourist luggage. President Erdogan offered no public statement. Instead, a secure call to Zelensky. The message was simple. This specific rail line is a conduit. Between 550,000 and 650,000 short tons of ammunition and heavy weapons transit here annually. Sever that line, and the Crimean occupation's logistics begin to starve. But this is sovereign Russian territory. The air defense network is dense. 400 long-range batteries, Buk M3 interceptors, and layered defense systems. Add Pantsir Stu units, Su-30 fighter patrols, and the ever-watchful A-100 AWACS. The entire Air Force is on alert. Theoretically, nothing larger than a bird should breach this shield. The notion that 2 propeller-driven drones could slip past through this billion-dollar firewall, deliver 4,000 pounds of ordnance, and return unscathed defies all war analysis. Yet, Saberflight is deep inside the kill box. 0308 hours. 4 minutes to target. 2 massive Raider drones hug the black surface of the Don River. Predators on a midnight hunt. They are flying nap of the Earth. Altitude: a mere 120 feet. This is a masterclass in stealth warfare. They are using the planet's own curvature as cover, staying below the radar horizon of the S-400 batteries. 620 miles away, inside the ground control station at Batman Air Base, an operator watches his screens glow. He speaks into his headset to the payload specialist beside him. Maintain altitude. Keep those props out of the water. The advanced defense technology is performing flawlessly. The electro-optical sensor suite acquires a thermal signature. The railway bridge is locked from 28 miles out. The targeting reticle glows green. The operation is proceeding with chilling precision. This is the critical moment in any stealth mission. The point where the soldiers believe they are invisible. They believe they are ghosts. They believe the multi-billion-dollar Russian military defense is blind. They are wrong. 0311 hours. The electronic silence is shattered. The 96 L6E acquisition radar pings. The S-400 battery in Rostov completes its sweep. A contact appears. It's faint, a whisper against the static. But for these troops, it's a kill order. The Russian operator's blood runs cold. The commander's voice cuts through the tension. Pantsir, engage! 2 57E6 missiles erupt from their tubes. Solid rocket motors ignite. The weapons hit Mach 4 in 4 seconds, 3,000 miles per hour of kinetic energy tearing through the dark. Sabre 01's operator reacts instantly, deploying a phantom decoy, a new piece of defense technology designed for this exact moment. Its cost, negligible. Its radar signature, a strategic bomber. A flash. The first Russian missile takes the bait. The warhead detonates 2.8 meters from the drone, shredding the decoy into a cloud of useless shrapnel. On the ground, the Russian troops mark a kill. A premature celebration. The second missile did not fall for the deception. It is still locked, still hunting. Inside the ground control station, a single warning light pulses crimson. Missile lock. Time to impact, 18 seconds. The element of surprise is gone. This is now open warfare. The lead operator remains ice cold, his movements precise. No panic, only procedure. Notch 90 degrees. Deploy chaff. Sabre 01 responds instantly, banking hard into the maneuver. A perfect 90-degree turn, perpendicular to the S-400's radar beam. Simultaneously, it ejects 4 canisters of carbon optical fiber. The fibers blossom in the cold air, a shimmering cloud of millions of reflectors, a ghost image drifting on the wind. This is the critical moment. The countermeasure is a lesson in physics. The Russian S-400, a key part of their defense systems, relies on pulse Doppler radar. Its logic is designed to ignore stationary clutter, ground, trees, buildings, by filtering out any target with zero relative velocity. By turning exactly 90 degrees, the drone's movement relative to the radar drops to zero. To the S-400's processor, it has vanished. Its closure rate is null. In the logic of modern warfare, it has become static, a ghost. The radar scope in Rostov is flooded with noise. For 31 seconds, the screen is pure static. The Doppler filter is overwhelmed. The second 57E6 missile, traveling at Mach 4, loses its electronic senses. Blind, deprived of its lock, the seeker head scans desperately for the most prominent radar return in its kill box. It bypasses the now invisible drone. Instead, it acquires a new target, a thermal anomaly created by a flock of migrating storks. The warhead detonates in a flash of light and a shower of feathers. Over the Don River, a $500 million air defense weapon is defeated. Their network outmaneuvered by a zero-cost tactic and a chaff bundle worth less than a commercial phone. But the war is far from over, because at that exact moment, on the tarmac of the Crimean Air Base, klaxons tear through the night. A Sukhoi 30 SM receives the order. Scramble. The time, 03:14 hours. At the airbase, any sense of victory vanishes. The night is torn apart by the roar of twin Saturn AL-31 engines. A Sukhoi 30 SM flanker, afterburners glowing, erupts from the runway. It claws for altitude, armed with 4 R-77-1 Adder missiles. These are not old weapons. They are active radar homing killers. Effective range, 68 miles. A direct threat from this defense technology. A confirmed lock from these modern weapons means the end. But the fighter jet is not the primary threat. The true danger circles at 35,000 feet, high above the Sea of Azov. A Russian A-100 Premier AWACS. Its primary L-band radar floods the airspace, and the previous tactic is now obsolete. The notch, maneuver, and chaff were effective against the S-400's high-frequency fire control radar. A solid war analysis proves the tactic. But the A-100's L-band operates on a far longer wavelength, a different kind of Air Force engagement. To this aerial command post, the cloud of chaff is transparent. It sees straight through the countermeasure, locking onto the heat. The thermal signature of 2PD-222 turboprop engines, a distinct glow against the cold river below. The data link instantly relays the target. Coordinates are fed directly to the Sukhoi 30. In the ground station, the mission profile changes from dangerous to impossible. The telemetry screen is a cascade of red. Intercept vector, 42 miles, closing fast. This global conflict was entering a new deadly phase. 1 minute remaining. Battery status, 19%. Red zone. The bridge is still 11 miles out. This is no longer a mission. It is a contest of modern warfare. A drone against a supersonic fighter jet. The Raider holds at 130 knots. The flanker screams past at Mach 1.8. The operator stares at the screen. The closing vector is a death sentence. He knows the R-77-1 missiles are active. Their seekers are spinning. 90 seconds to impact. His drones, his advanced military weapons, will become burning wreckage across the steppe. There is no maneuver in the book for this. You cannot outrun the laws of physics. He has two options: pray or play the final card. The card that officially does not exist. His hand moves to a guarded red switch on the console. Sabres 02. He commands, his voice stripped of all emotion. Go loud. Sabre 02, the drone presumed to be just a wingman, was the key. It shatters its flight profile, surging to 160 knots, climbing violently to 800 feet. The Azulon electronic warfare pod ignites at maximum power. This is the ace. In 0.8 seconds, the nature of this war changes. The airspace is transformed into an electromagnetic hellscape, a raw pulse across the entire X, Ku, and Ka frequency bands. This defense technology weaponizes energy itself. For the Russian fighter jet, the effect is immediate and catastrophic. Inside the Su-30SM, the radar goes pure white, a blinding wall of static. The fire control computer crashes, drowned in noise. The R-77-1 missile, a millisecond from launch, goes dead. Its digital brain erased. The target lock is gone. It tumbles from the rail like a dumb rock. Its seeker spins into nothing, wandering off into the gray sky. A failed firework against the gloom. High above, the A-100 AWACS, the all-seeing eye of the Russian military, sends one terrifying transmission to command. The message is short. We are blind. A window opens. 48 seconds of electronic immunity. Sabre 01 ignores the chaos. It drives for the Dawn Bridge, an arrow aimed at the enemy's heart. The path is clear. The defense systems are down. Nothing on Earth can stop it now. In the next 48 seconds, a global conflict is shaped by a single drone. 2 unmanned aerial vehicles achieve what an entire army division could not. They are about to sever Moscow's lifeline to Crimea. Sabre 01 hits the release point. The targeting computer runs the calculations. Vector, speed, wind. In a microsecond, the solution is locked. 4 MMT penetrators drop from the hardpoints. 2 are designated for the central support pillar. The other 2 arc towards the mouth of the Kavkaz tunnel. For 0.8 seconds, there is only the sound of falling ordnance. Perfect ballistic arcs. Then, impact. The delayed fuses burrow deep inside the concrete. A shockwave of 15,000 psi erupts from within. This is not a surface wound. This is a killing blow. An internal decapitation. 200 feet of reinforced steel twists like paper. Physics takes over. The central span of the bridge, its structural integrity gone, snaps cleanly in two. Gravity claims the rest. The massive steel truss collapses into the river, throwing an 80-foot geyser of water and debris. But the war analysis continues. A Russian supply train, loaded with 40 T-90M main battle tanks, was on that bridge, precisely at the halfway point. The locomotive engineer has no time to react before gravity claims 3,000 tons of armored warfare, plunging it into the river. 40 tanks, valued at $160 million, become instant submersibles. At the Kavkaz tunnel, the strike is even more surgical. The MAMT munitions, a triumph of defense technology, punch through 6 feet of reinforced concrete before detonation. The resulting explosion does not merely block the entrance, it collapses the ceiling for the first 200 yards. The 4.2-mile tunnel ceases to be a transport artery. It becomes a sealed tomb. The strategic shockwave travels faster than the blast itself. Within 6 hours, satellite intelligence paints a picture of logistical collapse. 127 Russian military trains are frozen in place, backed up across the entire southern rail network. A steel serpent paralyzed. The supply chain for the entire war effort in Crimea suffers a catastrophic failure. The peninsula, a territory that consumes 152mm artillery shells like oxygen, loses 70% of its ammunition resupply in just 72 hours. The arteries of warfare are severed. The heart of the military machine is failing. In Moscow, there's a dawning realization that this Black Week has descended into a new level of darkness. The loss of the Don River Bridge is not just a structural failure. It is a geopolitical event horizon, shattering the core assumptions of this phase of the global conflict. To comprehend the magnitude of this strike, one must examine history. Russian military doctrine, from the Tsars to the Soviets, has always been built on the altar of the railway. Their army doesn't fight with finesse. It fights with overwhelming iron logistics. Victory is achieved by forcing more material down a track than the enemy can possibly counter. But today, that entire doctrine of modern warfare has collided with a new reality. This strike effectively creates a Stalingrad scenario for the Crimean occupation. The German Sixth Army was not defeated by superior tactics, but by the strangulation of its supply lines. The Russian troops in Crimea now face the same fate. They are an island garrison. The Kerch Bridge was already operating at limited capacity from previous attacks. The Don River rail line was the only redundancy for their defense systems. That redundancy is now underwater. Along the Kherson and Zaporizhia fronts, an unnatural silence descends. Russian artillery, the so-called god of war, which depends on a constant flow of 152mm shells, falls silent for 4 consecutive days. Without that rail link, the fire superiority of the entire Russian army simply evaporates. Ukrainian mechanized brigades exploit the window, advancing 8 to 12 meters into the gray zone. This is not a mere tactical gain. It is a move towards strategic checkmate. By pushing forward, Ukrainian forces bring new Russian supply hubs within range of GMLRS and HIMARS systems, initiating a compounding cycle of destruction. Yet, the most powerful shockwave from these modern weapons is not kinetic. It is diplomatic. Its epicenter is not Rostov, but Washington, D.C. Mere hours before the bridge fell, a new document emerged. A leaked 28-point peace plan, a proposal built entirely on the assumption of a battlefield stalemate. The plan demanded that Ukraine cede 20% of its territory, including the very land this railway supplied in exchange for a ceasefire. The deal was founded on the belief that Russia's grip on the south was unbreakable. This single drone strike is Kyiv's violent veto. It demolishes the very foundation of the negotiation. By severing the lifeline to Crimea, Ukraine has proven Russia's hold on the peninsula is brittle, temporary, and ultimately unsustainable. The reaction in Europe is instantaneous. The atmosphere becomes electric. Across the continent, the EU's wavering resolve, once pressured by peace proposals, now solidifies into steel. This single strike proves a new thesis of modern warfare. Russia can be defeated, not through grinding attrition, but through precise economic strangulation. The entire narrative of this global conflict pivots. The conversation is no longer about ceding territory. It's a countdown. How long until the Russian army starves? The irony is a cold, hard fact on the battlefield. Putin, humiliated by Turkish defense technology. His plans undone by the timing of clumsy diplomacy. His opponent outmaneuvered him with sheer strategic grit. Zelensky didn't just strike a bridge. He shattered the entire framework for negotiation. The signal was transmitted with the force of an explosion. A clear message from the military high command. No bad deals would be signed. Not when they could systematically turn the invading army into the world's largest group of unsupported pedestrians. In 7 days, Putin lost his logistics, his leverage, and his strategic posture. A devastating military update. The fallout is absolute. Worse than a supply chain collapse in downtown Moscow, the smoke begins to clear over the river, the Don River. Below, the twisted wreckage of Russia's southern ambition is exposed. The lesson from this war analysis is brutal and simple. In the deadly poker game of geopolitics, never underestimate a player who holds the map, and with it, advanced defense systems. Under no circumstances do you provoke a leader like President Erdogan when his patience is thin. Because the response from his military won't just neutralize your navy, they will erase the very railroad you need to reach your ships. The attack leaves you with 40 tanks at the bottom of a river. For your soldiers, it's a very long walk home. You have witnessed logistics dismantled by modern weapons with surgical precision. If you value this analysis, support the channel. Subscribe for more deep dives into the grim physics of defense and warfare. And report in the comments. You are the Russian commander. How do you explain this to Moscow? How do you report 40 submerged tanks to Putin? We'll see you in the next briefing.